A fresh wave of online headlines is once again pulling Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, into the wider Epstein-document conversation, mixing claims about past contact, financial pressure, and reputational fallout. The story is spreading quickly. But when responsible journalists approach a moment like this, the goal isn't to amplify shock, it's to add context, proportion, and caution. If you're fascinated by the untold stories of the British royal family, the decisions that shape the monarchy, and the complex dynamics behind the crown, then you absolutely need to be subscribed to Crown Desk. Hit that subscribe button now, because we are uncovering insights you won't find anywhere else. Let's dive in. Over the past several years, successive releases of Epstein-related court records, emails, and exhibits have repeatedly brought public figures back under scrutiny. Each new batch tends to trigger viral name lists and dramatic summaries online. But experienced royal correspondents and legal analysts tend to emphasize a key principle: appearing in document archives does not automatically equal wrongdoing. Context determines meaning, and context often arrives later than headlines. Sarah Ferguson's name has surfaced in parts of this broader document ecosystem before, largely in connection with correspondence and social proximity rather than criminal allegation. Across mainstream reporting, what is broadly established is this: Ferguson has had periods of financial strain over the years. She has moved in high-level social circles, and she, like many public figures, had some degree of contact overlap with people later tied to Epstein's network. That overlap alone is not treated by serious outlets as proof of misconduct. What is driving the current attention cycle is a cluster of renewed claims circulating across tabloids and social media, suggesting continued contact after Epstein's conviction, private communications about finances, and possible reputational consequences in charity and publishing circles. Some outlets also cite unnamed associates, describing her as eager to relaunch professional projects amid renewed controversy. However, and this is where journalistic caution matters, many of these details rely on anonymous sources, partial email excerpts, or second-hand quotes. They have not been fully authenticated in publicly indexed court exhibits. That places them in the category of reported claims, not verified findings. Responsible coverage keeps that distinction visible. From a broader royal affairs perspective, the Ferguson story sits at the intersection of three themes that often recur in modern monarchy reporting: legacy associations, financial independence after royal separation, and reputational vulnerability in the digital document age. First, legacy associations. The Epstein archive continues to generate secondary headlines because it functions less like a single revelation and more like an ongoing document reservoir. As records are unsealed or recirculated, names reappear, sometimes with new context, sometimes without. Public interpretation often assumes escalation, when the reality may simply be rediscovery. Second, financial independence after royal separation. Sarah Ferguson has not been a working royal for decades. Like several extended royal family members, she has relied on commercial projects, books, media appearances, partnerships to sustain her income. That makes reputation directly tied to earning power. When controversy rises, commercial relationships can become more fragile. That is a structural reality of public-facing careers, not unique to her. Third, reputational vulnerability in the archive era. Today, old emails, calendars, and contact lists can resurface years later and be judged by current standards. What once looked like ordinary elite social overlap can appear more troubling when viewed through later events. Analysts often warn against retrospective guilt by association, judging every past contact through the lens of what became known afterward. Public reaction, meanwhile, tends to split into predictable camps. Some observers interpret any renewed mention as confirmation of deeper wrongdoing. Others view the recurring headlines as tabloid amplification built on thin sourcing. The truth position, where most responsible journalism sits, is narrower. Acknowledge the claims, verify what can be verified, label what cannot, and avoid conclusions ahead of evidence. It's also important not to let narrative drift create false consequences. For example, claims sometimes circulate online that Ferguson lost her Duchess title or was formally stripped of status due to these controversies. That is not supported by official royal records. Title structures and role changes follow specific processes. They are not triggered by tabloid cycles. What might the real consequences be going forward? Most likely reputational rather than legal, unless verified evidence changes the factual landscape. Media perception can influence partnership opportunities, invitations, and public image long before any formal finding exists. That's why document-driven stories often have outsized social impact, even when legal impact is limited. Based on patterns we've seen in previous Epstein-document waves, the next phase will likely bring one of two outcomes: either stronger authentication of specific correspondence claims or gradual narrowing as weaker allegations fail verification. Both outcomes are common in archive-driven controversies. For viewers and readers, the most reliable stance right now is informed caution. There is renewed reporting, there are circulating claims, there is partial documentary reference, but much of what is being repeated has not yet been fully authenticated in primary records accessible to the public. That means it should not be taken as settled fact. And that raises the bigger question. In an era where old documents can generate new outrage overnight, how should the public weigh association, evidence, and time? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you value careful, context-first royal reporting, like the video, turn on notifications, and join the Crown Desk community. We'll continue tracking verified developments and leave speculation clearly labeled.